It's no secret that Nu has a favored matchup into Victor, but one thing that I say that always catches people's attention is that Victor isn't down bad as much as people think against Nu. Victor has go again cards and some play that can actually put him in the driver's seat kind of early on to dictate the tempo and when and how he wants to block throughout the game. Now, obviously, when I say Victor gets to determine when he wants to block, there's some asterisk to that. Because cards like Surgical Extraction and Leave No Witnesses put all the pressure on Victor to decide if they want their arsenal or if they want to keep the cards in their hand. Over the course of the game, Nu is incentivized to banish blue cards from our hand and from our deck. This gives her the ability to fuel her late game plan as she wants to throw our big attacks like Cranial Crush and Macho Grande at us. One of the things that can lean in Victor's favor is if a new player gets blinded by all the blues in your hand, she might not take the right card, leaving you with a powerful red, which can shift the game in your favor and put you in the driver's seat. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope you enjoy the match. Playing against Nu, and we open up a hand that's pretty rough, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of it. I do want to keep the Tests of Strength if I can in my hand, which is weird because I don't start this match with a gold the way that I set up my items and equipment, but I think we're just going to throw the hammer and arsenal the Command and Conquer. It's probably going to be the play. I think we're just going to throw the hammer and arsenal the Command and Conquer. We could just pass arsenal the Command and Conquer and then hope that the Test of Strength bails us out with a solid blue like a Macho Grande, a Cranial Crush. Honestly, any of our blues would be okay. We are giving our opponent the ability to filter here, which feels pretty bad because there are some like Nu has the ability to draw some like quote unquote Runeblade hands. And so throwing something at her on turn 0 is generally worse than it is better. That's why I don't like going first. Yeah, so we would have drawn into a yellow, which would have made our hand like functional if we'd just arsenaled, and then we would have revealed a Chokeslam off the top of our deck when it came time for the Test of Strength. So maybe just passing is actually the correct play because it puts us in a decent spot, and we give ourselves the ability to potentially keep a Command and Conquer play for the following turn. I do think this is a block 9 kind of card. I hate not blocking this card, I hate blocking this card like this because if they just have like a hiss and then like throw a Command and Conquer at me, yeah, like this is like so backbreaking. But I have to block 9 here because I can't give them any of my cards. Bonds of Agony is like one of those cards that you hate to play against, to be honest. And then if they have an Arsenal Disruption piece, I'm in such a bad spot right here. Like if it's Leave No Witnesses, I mean, I guess we could like crown it away if we wanted to. Okay, they're just willing to say, yeah, we got what we wanted out of that. We're just going to pass back. So that's fine. I'm willing to just say okay here. Not drawing a blue is pretty awkward. I mean, we saw 2 blues in the first 12 cards of our draw so far, which is pretty awkward. That feels very awkward. I'm going to block here. Maybe I'm not supposed to block. All right, and then I'm going to... I think we're going to take 4, and we're going to crown away the Command and Conquer. Oh man, this is starting to feel real awkward. Like these draws have been pretty weird so far. It's okay. Our opponent had a not great hand there as well. They've had a couple of hands there back to back that were nothing to write home about. So I think we're going to come in for 7. Arsenal the Pummel, and we're going to try and set up and do some good stuff with the Trounce here. Now, we don't have any gold to reclash with, so if the Trounce whiffs, we're in a rough spot. Nothing I can really do about it at this point in the game, but it's okay. It is early, and Nu is a deck that does not win the game in 2 to 3 turns. It wins the game slowly over every turn with hand disruption and like slowly eking out more points than you over the course of the game. So they do decide to keep their hand, which makes sense. Okay, so we have Pummel with the weakest link here. Or there's potential that we have Pummel Crush the Week, which is also very good. I love that they're just coming in for 7 like this. This could be go again. This could just be a straight up trap for me. I think I'm just going to block 3. I know that we're probably like wasting a card here if we do win the Trounce. But if I lose the Trounce and give up the weakest link, then I can't pummel anything. So I think I would rather just block like this. We're also kind of like protecting ourselves from a go again threat here from the new deck. So if there is like a go again, we put a Just a Nick on the bottom and Bonds of Attraction is on top. I mean, I would assume that if they wanted go again here, they would have just named go again instead of making that play right there. We do have 2 Vigors, which is pretty good. So it gives us the ability to throw the Crush the Week here. And the Crush the Week's going to be for 8. And Crush the Week is pretty good against new. Bonds of Attraction, Bonds of Agony, any of the 0 for 3s that they like to play. Like there's quite a few cards, like the some of the more strong power cards that they're looking to use, like Bonds of Agony, really get stunted by Crush the Week. It feels like playing Crush the Week is kind of unintuitive into new because there are a lot of hands where like if they're playing Death Touch or if they have Command and Conquer or Leave No Witnesses where they're not like Crush the Week can do not a lot. But I think that this is a higher upside card than it is like downside card in the matchup. It's kind of interesting because the one card in this matchup that I'm really questioning is actually the weakest link. They don't play that many no blocks. Like it's really just the chi cards. Everything else blocks pretty efficiently for the most part. So the weakest link seems like it really needs to line up, and it seems like it has more play into Enigma and into Zen. So I'm debating. I'm currently running 66 cards in this matchup, which I think is a little too many. Probably why we're seeing some of the red awkward hands at the beginning of the game that we had. But to be fair, I am playing 33 blues, which is more than most victors are on. Maybe if I cut the weakest links, I'm sitting in a spot where it feels a little bit better. 63 blues is not as bad with 33 blues. So, I mean, it's over half of the deck would be blues, because 33 times 2 is 66. So right now we're sitting at a half blue count, which means we probably shouldn't have as many, as many red hands as we've had. But I am going to play the Pummel here because they've blocked to stop the Crush effect, which means if they don't have like a Sink Below here or something really good, we probably get a lot of value. Or maybe my opponent's just saying, you know what, if you want to play Pummel here, I'm just going to throw a Command and Conquer at you or Leave No Witnesses. It is what it is. But we do get to push our life lead here and a pretty decent on-hit effect. So we're now up 3 points and seeing a lot of Crush the Weak and the weakest link in these hands here. I think I'm going to keep the Trounce in my hand to try and set up. We're going to throw another Crush the Weak because they do not have equipment that they want to block with. They want to use the Arousing Wave and the Stilettos like pretty early on in the game to try and get value out of them when they need them, but they don't want to block with Tunic or Mask of Recurring Nightmares in this matchup. So we're kind of forcing a Sink, like a D-React here, which is very possible. Our opponent's already shown us a Sink Below. They're probably on Fate for Scenes as well. I've played against some news that are playing Unmovable more recently, which has been interesting. It's been like a very solid choice for the new players that I played against. We have a very good local new player who makes me sweat on Friday nights every time we play. So just like that, we stripped 2 cards from our opponent's hand, which is absolutely amazing. It's exactly what we want to see. We're going to go weakest link than this. We really need this Trounce to win us a hand here. This is awkward because they could be able to like strip a lot of cards out of our deck. So the safest play we could make would be to block Trounce, Spinal Crush, and Zealous Belting. We're blocking 8. Sorry, I got a hair on my glasses. And we're protecting a lot of our power cards here. I think we're definitely going to block 6 because this very easily, like this is probably, they put a Just a Nick on the bottom and they blocked with 1. So there's only 1 left like in the first 60 cards that we're really worried about. So I think that blocking 6 might be safe. So if this is a Venomous Bite, A Rousing Wave, that's 3 reactions, and then if it is the last just a nick, it does get pumped up to 10, so they can take all of our Zealous Beltings, which is a little unfortunate, but all right, so if it's a Venomous Bite, it goes... I'm going to tell my opponent here that we're thinking. So Venomous Bite, they pitch a blue. I assume they would have thrown one of these if they had a blue they wanted to use, which makes me think it's just a nick, or maybe it's just the Hiss or a Venomous Bite with, like, you know, without the real value here. So let's assume that they're going to play 3 reactions and make this +3 for 4. It goes up to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I block here, I'm playing around them having the red to play the buff, but I'm not playing around them having the Just a Nick, because Just a Nick would make it 9, which means I would fall 1 short of blocking this out. I think with our current situation, we need to take a little bit of a chance here to try and find a good go again hand, because if we're able to find a hand, like if we rip into a blue right here, if we win the Trounce and rip into a blue or even a red, we're sitting in a spot where we can go Zealous Belting into the weakest link, or maybe Zealous Belting into Hammer, depending on what feels better. So I think that's where we're at right now. The reason that I feel so good using this block the way that it is because, or blocking the way that it is because we've already seen them block with just a nick and put 1 to the bottom. We are going to target ourselves, and we do find a blue for Rouse the Ancients. Thank God it was a Siren's Call on top, because Rouse was looking pretty... Rouse is not a great card to clash with. Okay, so this is just Mask of Recurring Nightmares. Honestly, that's kind of okay, because we can banish the Rouse. They don't get a ton of value out of it. And then with the Vigor token, we're actually able to go Zealous Belting into the weakest link. So it's 6 go again into 6 with a potential on-hit effect, which is, I mean, a pretty solid play, considering that we just blocked 6 from hand and then had a card banished from our hand. I think that's a pretty good spot for us to be in. We're also 2 Bonds of Agony out of the way pretty early on in the game, which puts us in a hopefully good spot for the late game as we continue to push to try and find our footing here. My opponent realizes they don't need to block this. I think that's a very heads-up play for my opponent. Blocking the Zealous Belting is probably a net negative for you unless your hand is just pretty mediocre. But if my opponent has a good hand with some disruption where they can, you know, go dagger into, like, you know, a Surgical Extraction or something else, then might be pretty good. I imagine they have Siren's Call, Surgical, Hurl, and Leave No Witnesses. So dagger, Leave No Witnesses, Siren's Call. And they can use Tunic to use Stilettos if they want to. That's what I'm thinking off the top of my head. So looking at this hand's actually insane. If they don't play the Siren's Call, I'm going to say no blocks here. If they don't play the Siren's Call, we are sitting in... Okay, I was like, if they don't, we are sitting in a situation where we can go Zealous into Chokeslam. If they do play the Siren's Call, they probably take the Rouse the Ancients because it blocks for less, and they're still leaving us with a blue. They take the Thunk. I have to say I don't really understand why. I don't really understand why you take the Thunk there. They do use Stilettos, so Stilettos gives them a Slither, and they have an unknown card in hand, and they have a Hurl. They get a card off the top of the deck. It is a Golden Sun. We're down to just 1 Golden Sun left in the deck, which means some of our closing power is gone, which can be a little tough at times. So we know that they have a Hurl and an unknown card here in Arsenal. If I block with the Gauntlets, then we're playing around them having the Arousing Wave. But if we block with the Gauntlets and they have like a Venomous Bite, we're going to lose a card here, which means hopefully they don't banish a blue off the top. But if they do, it's okay. If they banish a blue off the top, then we're in an okay spot because we can still use Tunic and Chokeslam to throw the Zealous Belting here. Yeah. They are going to give it go again. I guess they just clearing the cards out of their hand. Hopefully they hit a red. No, they do hit a blue and take our blue. It's unfortunate, but it's okay. If they throw the hurl at me, I'm probably just going to block with the Chokeslam here, just to block for value. I don't think there's a world they're going to dagger me here, but I'm just going to block. They've taken a lot of the value from our hand this turn. So setting up the Zealous Belting to be able to have a potential go again hand next turn is pretty good. This hand also has a lot of value here. The two cards that I would like to keep are Quake and Macho Grande. Those are the cards I like to keep in my deck. But if I'm able to play Visit Goldmane Estate on my turn, I will, because it gives me more options with Go Again. I have zero interest in blocking the Hurl. That card is a 0 for 3. I understand why they're playing it. It gives them more combo potential with the Spider's Bite and Beckoning Mistblade, but I don't think that card is very good into me. I'm pretty okay to take one here, I think. I think that's a safe taking one. Maybe I'm supposed to give the Thunk. Maybe I'm supposed to block here off the top. I'm not sure. Infect for 2. We're going to block with a Thunk here. See what they have to follow this up with. They may have like a 0 for 4. Yep. So they do end up having to leave no witnesses. So I'd need to draw blue to make this really worth. So if I block with Quake and Civic Steps here, I would need to draw blue to make it worth, or I could block Goldmane Estate and the Civic Steps and then go 5 Go Again into the hammer. And blocking 5 also plays around them using the Arousing Wave here, so they're not going to get their value off of this, which is good for us. The Quicken token can be pretty frightening next turn. We have given up a lot of the value that we get from our equipment over the course of the game. I feel like I used Gauntlets of Iron Will the second time in a pretty lazy fashion. The first time we blocked with it was a very calculated risk I was willing to take. And they did have the Hiss in Arsenal, actually. The Hiss was in Arsenal, so the +3 was there for them to do what they wanted to do. So us blocking with the Gauntlets was actually the correct play, and it ended up benefiting us. But yeah, it's I think the second Gauntlets block was just a lazy block for me, to be honest. I don't know. It's tough to say entirely. I'm hoping that like we can use our life lead here to try and close the game out. A card like Command and Conquer can help us when it comes in for 7. It means that, you know, if they're looking to Arsenal a Sink Below or a Fate Foreseen here, then we get a pretty decent spot for what we want. I think I'm pretty willing to block 6 here. Now, if they do have the +1, you know, the +3, then it's very unfortunate for us. But I think that I'm pretty willing to block 6. I am going to destroy my gold to put the Test of Strength on the bottom. And we do win the clash. We put an E-Strike on the bottom and then draw a Cranial Crush, and they have a Venomous Bite on the top of their deck, and they play a Venomous Bite. Okay, so they'll probably take the Command and Conquer here. If I had to guess, I would assume that's their number 1 take, and we're going to lose Chokeslam off the top of the deck. Command and Conquer, like, especially if they're looking to Arsenal, taking the Command and Conquer is just like the best play they have. I would say, like, bar none almost. If they take one of the blues, we'll obviously just throw the Command and Conquer because it's just for 7 and it's good value for us. They take the Cranial Crush just as a value play for their new ability, I think, is what they're going for. They have assembled quite a few cards over here to be able to use some of that. They also did pitch an Eradicate earlier, so that's a card we need to be aware of. With them being as low as they are, I'm not super worried about. With them being as low as they are, I'm not super worried about getting fatigued here. We have yet to see any Macho Grandes make their way over here, so we still have some closing power with Dominate, and we still have one more. Ooh, I could throw this for 7 with Tunic and Arsenal Thunderquake. Sorry, I was saying we have one more Golden Sun left in the deck. So we still have some good closing power left at the end of the game. I think I'm going to throw this for 7, and I'm going to Arsenal the Thunderquake here. It's a decent card because it's a 2-card 8, which means I have the ability to block 6 and throw 8. It's a 5-card 14, which is below rate, but as Guardian, I think it's a pretty good play. It also threatens lethal, which means it demands that they block with something as I'm looking at trying to finish the rest of the game here. They give me Tunic, Weakest Link, and another 3-block. Oh, they are running Spreading Plague. I like Spreading Plague a lot because, I mean, I have to block. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I have to block. As Guardian, I am required to block, so I kind of like that. I love when they start cracking the silver, because it means that their hand is like not good enough, and they're looking for a better piece here to throw at me. I am going to block this if they have a like hiss here to push over the top. Okay, they're gonna banish a card for my hand. Yep, that's fine. So I'm gonna block with Debilitate. Now, here's what we have to decide. Do I want to throw Thunderquake for 8, or would I like to make a gold and potentially draw another blue, crack the gold, and then draw into it? We have what? We have all of our Test of Strengths left in the deck. I think we've pitched one and put the other 2 in the bottom of the deck, so they're all second cycles. I think throwing 8 is better than taking a chance on like what our turn looks like. If I had Tunic available, well, I mean, even if I draw a red, right? So if I pitch this, no, I can't do that. I have to hit a blue and have Tunic available to make that happen, and I just don't think that's correct. I think we want to push the tempo here, making sure that we can throw 8. We're also protecting ourselves from a Command and Conquer or a Leave No Witnesses, and they've seen 2 Command and Conquers and 2 Leave No Witnesses. And I mean, you know, they're not too far from second cycle stacking here from what we're looking at. This is going to be one of those hands that I'm probably going to say no blocks on and just see how bad it can be. It's pretty aggressive of me, but my opponent's at 4 and I'm at 19, which means I have the life to give up, and this is a 13-point hand. This is exactly what we wanted. This is exactly what we needed on this turn. We're going to take 8 damage and fall from 20 to 12, but we're going to throw 13 back. Well, I'm sorry, because of the Plague Hive, we're also going to take the Pox token here. But we're able to throw 13 when our opponent is at 4, really forcing the action and probably giving us enough breathing room to try and keep a solid hand next turn that could potentially throw something like a Macho Grande, or we could throw something like a Golden Sun to try and close the game out here. Golden Sun is never guaranteed to close the game out. It's one of those tough ones. Overpower is a very balanced keyword in my opinion in Classic Constructed. So there was never a guarantee that we're going to close the game out, but it does help us. The fact that we've already lost 2 is pretty rough. This unmovable? No, they just conceded there. I really don't understand why they conceded there. They could have blocked 7 from hand. I don't know. Interesting decision, but we were able to close it out with the go again and the Chokeslam there at the end of the game. The first 4 turns of the game were kind of a roller coaster, to be honest. On turn 1, my opponent throws Bonds of Agony at me, which forces 3 cards out of my hand. They then play Path Well Traveled, activate their headpiece, and I banish a blue card from my hand. Then on the following turn, they throw Command and Conquer at me, forcing me to use Crown of Providence. My turn then looks like throw E-Strike for 7, Arsenal Pummel, and set up Trounce. Then they had a pretty mediocre turn off the back of just throwing like something small and an E-Strike at me, which gave me all of the window I needed to block with a Trounce and then throw Crush the Weak and Pummel all in the same turn. On turn 5, my opponent throws Bonds of Agony at me. I block with Trounce, a card from hand, and Gauntlets of Iron Will. This block was to play around them having a Hiss or a Venomous Bite. I was not playing around just a Nick. I took a calculated risk by not playing around just a Nick, considering they had just blocked with 1 and they had just put 1 on the bottom from a Trounce, leaving myself in a potentially good spot if I win the Trounce to go Zealous Belting for 6 into the Weakest Link on my following turn. Later in the game, my opponent throws a Surgical Extraction at me and I block with a Trounce and a Wallop. I win the Trounce and my hand is blue Thunderquake, blue Cranial Crush, and a Command and Conquer. My opponent, knowing they're going to end their turn on Levels of Enlightenment to draw a card, made the decision to take Cranial Crush and leave me with the Command and Conquer for 7. Now, ultimately, I think this is a mistake, because it gives me room to get into the driver's seat and force cards out of their hand. If they take the Command and Conquer from my hand, I'm forced to crack gold to try to draw cards, or I'm just throwing hammer, which is pretty lackluster there. Guys, if you see anything you think I missed, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys.